I was a Jeopardy champion at a very young age, and consequently people throughout my life were always challenging me, and still are, to trivia questions. And I had a friend back in the late 1970s who was always challenging me to baseball trivia because he knew he could beat me at baseball trivia. So one day I just got disgusted with myself and went to a bookstore and decided to educate myself. And I just basically, you know, closed my eyes and pointed and picked out a few books. And 24 hours later, I was forever, passionately, irrevocably in love with baseball.
What was it in those books when you picked up that book and the next and you started to devour it? Was it the game? Was it the people? What captured your imagination?
It was the people, the characters. I fell in love with the 1905 New York Giants because they had a pitcher named Christy Mathewson, and there was just something about him that completely floored me and mystified me and made me want to find out more. And the more I read, the more I came to understand that baseball, the game, the sport, is about so much more than just what happens out on the field. There are so many things that if you pay attention to what goes on out on the field, you can take those observations and apply them to your daily life and live a happier, more successful life because of that. And that's what I try to take away as an umpire as well as give back as an umpire.
Do you think male umpires look at it the same way as women?
Good question. A lot of the time, I think they don't think about it as intensely or as in-depth the way that I do. But more as, you know, what am I doing right? Were my mechanics good? Was my timing good? Things like that. But to me, there's more to it than that. And I go over things in my mind, and sometimes I can find other umpires to talk about who understand and like that level of conversation. A little more cerebral than simply, you know, did I get that call at first base right? It was close. And I've been umpiring for 34 years now, and things are a lot different now than when I started in 1981. Back then, women on the ball field were a very rare sight. There was one woman umpiring in professional baseball, Pam Postema, and other than Pam, there was nobody. The day after my very first game, which was a dreadful experience, it was so dreadful that people wrote letters to the local newspaper about how terrible I was, and please do not ever let that woman umpire back on a ball field again. And I read those letters, and I thought to myself, you know, they're not saying those things about me because I'm a woman. They're saying them because I really didn't do a very good job as an umpire. And the one thing I knew I couldn't change, but the second thing I knew I could, that with some instruction and guidance and training, I could do it, because that was the way I was brought up to think, that if I wanted to do something, I could.
Being raised in New York City and having that attitude, do you think that impacted on you as an umpire?
Of course.
Being a New Yorker?
Yes. I've learned to present myself, to carry myself with a kind of confidence out there that just basically says, I know what I'm doing. You don't have to mess with me. I'm not going to be perfect, but I'm going to work hard, and I do. I still umpire rings around umpires half my age. And no matter what level I do, whether it's 12-year-olds or Major League Spring Training or, you know, international competition in Hong Kong or Taiwan or Japan, I just am so stimulated every time I go out there, and it's a challenge and a delight.